I wonder if this is how they do it at the dealership. I don't see any other way. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. This afternoon I was working on the Ferrari 308 and I was removing the master cylinder and the brake booster. Now, I've already removed this master cylinder one time and fully rebuilt it and put it back in the car. And I was an idiot because the master cylinder was leaking. Well, obviously it was leaking into the booster, and for whatever reason, I didn't even think to pull the booster because that diaphragm inside would be destroyed because of the brake fluid. And I put it all back together expecting it to work, and of course it didn't, so dummy me. And that's why I was out here this afternoon removing it again. This time I've got the booster off the car, and if you have to take on this job with your Ferrari 308, don't be intimidated. I was at first, but after doing it, it's not too terrible of a job to do. It takes some patience because there's some tight spots to get some of these bolts and stuff off. But I'm going to show you everything that you need to remove from the car and the way that I did it. Is it the right way? I mean, it worked. Everything came off, nothing got broken, and everything's fine. So I'm going to put that in the win column. First thing you're going to want to do is grab yourself like a little turkey baster tool thing. I think I got that at the dollar store. And you can use it to suck out the fluid in this reservoir. You're going to get a little bit left over, but not enough to create a big mess. Once you do that, you can disconnect the lines and disconnect the electrical pieces off there. And just make sure you know which one went to which side. I marked mine with some electrical tape. You want to pry up on these two little nipple things. They're going to be stuck down in here. Go very slowly and take your time. You do not want to break these because then you're stuck looking for a whole new reservoir. It's not worth it. They'll come out. Just be patient. If you haven't taken it off the car before, use a little WD-40, kind of spray it in there and let it kind of work its way in. These are new rubber grommets. It was a lot easier to take it off this second time. There's going to be 4 nuts that hold this on. They're 13 millimeters. Then once you have this and you pulled it out, this little shaft rides inside here, just like this, and this is actually inside the booster. So you can pull that master cylinder off of this little shaft. Make sure you do not adjust this. Leave it the way it is. It worked before. It's going to work when you put it back together. Don't change this, because what happens is if it's not adjusted correctly, your brakes will start to tighten up. Something to do with this. I've read online a little bit that guys have messed with this or forgot to or whatever, and their brakes started tightening up as they were going down the road. So pull it out, leave it as is, don't mess with it. Then you'll be left with the booster. Now there's this little plate that covers the pedal box. They're 10 millimeter nuts that hold that plate on, and I'm going to show you on the car. But that plate basically sits up here and on top of the whole brake assembly box that you can see from the front of the car. And it gives you an access to this piece right here. And what you're going to do is there's a pin holding this in to another piece that comes this way. So just pull this out, your little pin, remove the washer, press this down. If you press it down and it disappears, it's fine. It's just going to fall into the floorboard of the car and you can go inside and grab it. And then this will be loose inside the bracket. And I'll show you what that all looks like in the car. These 4 nuts are 13 millimeter. There are 2 on the top that you can get to underneath the front of the hood of the car. These 2 you have to get from inside the car up in the pedal box. So what made my life easy is I removed the driver's seat so that I could lay down underneath there and shine a light and get up underneath and get those nuts off. It's going to make your life a whole heck of a lot easier. So here's your pedal assembly box, or the outside of it. As you can see, this is where that cover is removed from. There's 4 nuts that were 10 millimeter. So this little piece that I'm shining my light on right there, that's what that pin comes through and connects to. And your booster is going to be sitting right outside here. Now, the tricky part, once you have everything loose and disconnected. The toughest part that I found was actually removing the booster from the front of this pedal box. What you need to do is remove this bolt right here. It's a 17 millimeter. Loosen the one that's back here, also a 17 millimeter. These two are the same. Then behind, there's one back over here and then one back in the corner, and you can get to those up underneath near the pedals. They're actually not that difficult to get to, and those are 13 millimeters. So I loosened these two and I removed these two. That way the box can lift up like this, and I was able to clear this little hump and remove that booster without damaging any of the threads or anything, pulling the studs out of the front of this. Here's one of those 13 millimeter bolts I was telling you about, and it comes down from right here, comes right out of here. The other one is right there. You can see how I've loosened it. I did not remove it, I just loosened it. Now you're gonna have to get your head all the way up here underneath the pedals to look up to see those two nuts that hold the booster from the inside. But once you're under there, you'll see what I'm talking about. You're gonna have to sneak a wrench in there, but you can do it. I'm gonna send my booster off to a place in Florida that rebuilds them. I looked online, read on some of the forums, and this is one of the 3 or 4 places that people had recommended. I've already reached out to the gentleman. Sounded really nice. Sounds like he knows what he's doing. He's done quite a few of these, so I'm going to trust him and send mine to him. I think he charges $300 to $400 or something like that, which really isn't bad because the new booster is $1,500, and I don't feel like spending that kind of money. Now, I could spend an extra $100 and have this thing like replated or whatever this is, but I think I'm just going to clean this one up and leave it as is. You know, my car is not a show car by any means. It's a driver quality car. Nobody's going to pay attention to my brake booster. So, you know, I'm going to clean this one, leave it original, and just run it once it's rebuilt. Should take, I don't know, I think his turnaround was less than a week, he told me. So hopefully I can get this cleaned up, emptied out. It's full of fluid. Ugh, it made a mess earlier all over my bench. I'm such a bonehead for not even catching that the first time that I rebuilt the master cylinder, and I went ahead and put it back on. But you live and learn. It's one of those mistakes you make once, but you won't make it twice. So if you come across this with your car and you're having issues and you have to remove the master cylinder, take your brake booster off as well. It's not a difficult job. It's a little time consuming, and you know, just go slow, take your time, and you're gonna get frustrated a little bit here and there because nobody wants to lay down up underneath a pedal assembly in one of these cars. It's not the most comfortable position to be working in, and certainly working in a garage that's almost 100 degrees doesn't help. But you know, you can see there's 4 nuts for that one, 4 nuts for this one, 4 nuts for that one, a couple bolts, and it all comes apart. Everything goes together one way, it comes apart and goes right back together the same way. So don't let stuff like this intimidate you. Get out there, get wrenching on your car, have some fun. Thanks so much for watching. Stay hungry, stay foolish.